You know, my friend John McCain, and you've used that phrase in the Senate, and half the time people don't mean it. John McCain has been my friend for 33 years. John McCain and I traveled the world together. John McCain used to be Navy liaison assigned to me as my advance guy on the trips I made for 3 or 4 years when I first got to the Senate. John McCain and his wife Cindy, Jill and I were with John when he met Cindy in a stopover in Honolulu on our way to go to China. I mean, we go back a long way. And he's literally, not figuratively, one of the physically bravest men I've ever met in my life. And it's real about John. John and I and Brock have fundamentally different views about how we're going to dig us out of this deep hole this administration after 8 years has dug us into, not only home but abroad. And now I observe that John and his running mate are talking about being the team and the team of change. They've gone from experience to change. Now I understand why, because they know the American people are hungry for an administration that's willing to challenge the American people and deal with the energy crisis, the healthcare crisis, deal with the opportunities that exist in terms of our education system. A country that out-teaches us will out-compete us. A country that out-educates us will out-compete us. And American people know all these things. And all of a sudden, John's become the agent of change. Well, I want to cut through all of this and ask you a rhetorical question. On all those things which fundamentally will affect the lives of middle-class people, ask yourself, is there one single significant difference that John McCain has from President Bush? One. Name one. So when we talk about this change, we have to focus on it. What is it, John, you're going to do? Your tax policy is the exact same, except more extravagant than the Bush policy was. Your policy with regard to the environment is fundamentally no different than the president's. Your energy policy is to drill, but in 25 years you voted 26 times against alternative energy and startups. The idea that somehow there's a fundamental difference on education between John McCain and George Bush is simply not true. And on foreign policy, John has even a more, how can I say, a more fulsome notion of the value of the use of American force than even George Bush does. Ladies and gentlemen, there's a lot going on out there. There's a lot going on out there. We have a lot to deal with. And emboldened Russia, floating in the sea of high-priced oil, exercising the same kind of outreach and overreach that literally the Soviet Union did. You saw what they just did moving into Georgia. You saw the attempt to intimidate Germany and Europe in terms of NATO admission of Ukraine by threatening to cut off their gas. The question is, are we going to have a new Cold War? Are we going to be able to figure this out? Are we going to, in fact, be able to deal with it? We talk about the situation going on in Iran and worry about a nuclear weapon. Well, let me tell you, I can tell you where there's a superhighway of terrorism. It's between Afghanistan and Pakistan in the mountains, and guess what? Pakistan is bristling with nuclear weapons. It can already reach the Mediterranean. It can already reach deep into the Indian Ocean. And what is the plan? What is the plan that John has, and the administration has, to get seen to it that Afghanistan does not fail, Pakistan does not fail? Ladies and gentlemen, this is big-ticket stuff. And I don't see a single fundamental difference between what John has proposed and is proposing now and what the Bush administration is proposing. So the idea of change in a McCain administration would literally be just cosmetic. It is not a question of really changing anything. They really believe. When John McCain says that after the economic dislocation has taken place nationally in the last 6 years, we've lost 604,000 jobs, just in the past year, just in the last 8 months. We lost 84,000 jobs last month nationwide. And by the way, these aren't statistics. These are lives. These are lives. Not only my grandmother used to have an expression, when the guy job. It's a recession. When you lose your job, it's a depression. What happens in the job loss? I know what happened in my family watching. You not only lose your ability to care for your family, but you have your dignity stripped from you. You have your own sense of self-respect stripped from you. Because we tend to be identified by what we do and how hard we're able to work. And the American public is ready to get up and work, but guess what? This administration doesn't seem to get it. And John McCain, God love him, as my mother would say, comes along and says, quote, the fundamentals of the economy are strong. John McCain says that, quote, under the Bush administration, we've made great progress economically. I can walk from here to Manchester, and I doubt where I'd find one person that said that fundamentals are strong and the economy is roaring, unless they ran into John McCain. This is not about personality. This is not about personality. This is about what are we doing, what do we mean by change? What is it? And let me sum up, because we're going to get into some questions about energy and health care, whatever you want to talk about. Let me sum it up as simply as I can. I'll go back to where I began. Barack and I have an unlimited faith in the ability of the American people to face up to both opportunities and problems. We believe with every fiber in our being that if you challenge the American people, imagine, as some of you heard me say before, we're on the eve of 9/11. Tomorrow we'll be in New York commemorating what happened and remembering those who gave their lives. Imagine that George Bush said, imagine had he said on the 12th or the 13th, when he addressed the American people, imagine had he said, my fellow Americans, we've been dealt a tragic blow, but like every generation before us, we will overcome it. And I'm making two announcements today. I'm announcing that in 2 weeks, I'm sending a comprehensive energy bill to the United States Congress that will free us from the iron grip of the oligarchs of oil, the very people who are suffering. Imagine what they would have said if you stood up and said, I call the city the world's greatest power, to be with me in my public work, to begin to end the rise and rise of fundamentals. Ladies and gentlemen, it's time for America to get up. The American people are ready.